Mist drifts low over Willow Creek, settling across narrow cobblestone streets and weathered wooden rooftops. On the quiet lane, there are no footsteps, only the soft rustle of falling leaves and the gentle murmur of the creek weaving through the town. Clara walks beneath the pale moonlight, feeling as though she moves between two worlds, one awake, one made of memory and lingering whispers that refuse to sleep. She reaches Willow Creek where warm candlelight flickers through the windows, but the air inside remains unusually still. The scent of aged wood and faint traces of smoldering embers linger, and each creaking step along the hall seems to whisper secrets of long-forgotten days. Clara's heartbeat slows, her breath falling into rhythm with the pulse of the inn. Upstairs, she pauses by the window and watches the creek wind through the town, silvered by moonlight. The world outside seems alive, but in a gentle, calming way. She sinks onto the old bed, inhales deeply, closes her eyes, and allows her body to relax, letting the tension of the day melt away. In her mind, she drifts further into Willow Creek, where fog and shadow intertwine, and every sound, the creak of wood, the flicker of light becomes part of a quiet melody, meant only for her dot. As her breathing evens, she notices subtle sounds, the whisper of the trees, the soft sigh of wind over rooftops. Yet beneath them lies another rhythm, a faint bell from a distant tower near the old bridge. Each toll resonates with history, faint echoes of tragedies and hidden stories, stories the town has long tried to forget. Drawn by a quiet curiosity, Clara moves along the hallway, guided by the dim glow of the lanterns. The inn seems almost alive, each shadow stretching like a hand reaching across decades, each beam of light painting a scene she cannot fully name. Outside the window, branches sway in the night air, their shadows dancing across the ground. She imagines spirits, gentle and fleeting, drifting through the mist, not frightening, merely teasing, reminding her that Willow Creek holds memory in every corner. In the attic, she discovers a small, dust-covered box. Inside, letters and a tarnished silver locket await. Each letter tells a story, a love lost, a regret never voiced, a melody trapped in time. When she touches the locket, a faint breeze seems to pull her backward, revealing blurred images in the fog, hands reaching, candlelight flickering, the old bridge arching over the silvered creek. The world around Clara comes alive in quiet, magical ways. The water's gentle current, the rustle of leaves, the soft sigh of wind, forming a rhythm that is both soothing and haunting. She senses that this is only the beginning. Willow Creek has stories to tell, whispers meant for those who are willing to listen, sounds that lull and chill at once, without ever raising the heart's tension. Before closing her eyes completely, Clara lets herself take in the full scene. The dim light, the scent of wood and fog, the steady pulse of the creek, and the faint tolling of the distant bell. All of it weaves into a gentle lullaby, a soft invitation into deep sleep, where untold tragedies and hidden memories drift into the quiet calm of Willow Creek's night. The morning mist clung to the edges of Willow Creek as Clara stepped out of the inn, the damp air heavy with the scent of wet leaves and cedar. The town lay hushed beneath a soft gray sky, as though it were holding its breath. She wandered toward the old mill, her footsteps quiet on the stone path, each one echoing faintly in the stillness. Somewhere, water lapped against the banks, the current whispering secrets that had lingered for decades. The mill itself was a skeleton of wood and shadow, its wheel frozen and silent. Clara's gaze wandered over its darkened windows and moss-covered beams, imagining the lives that had once thrived here. Millers whose laughter once echoed through the halls, children running across the fields, lovers meeting beneath the arches of the bridge. Now, only the mist remained, curling and shifting like smoke from another time. Drawn by a subtle movement, she noticed a narrow path leading to the creek behind the mill, overgrown and hidden by wild vines. The closer she stepped, the softer the ground felt, almost as if the earth itself were inviting her to uncover what it had kept secret. And then she saw it, the faint outline of a figure at the water's edge. It was a woman, tall and luminous, her dress flowing like liquid moonlight. She did not move, but Clara could feel her presence, a quiet pool, like the heartbeat of the creek itself. The woman's gaze seemed to pass through the fog and into Clara's mind, hinting at stories untold, sorrows endured, and memories that refused to fade. Clara inhaled slowly, letting the sounds of the creek and the rustle of unseen leaves settle her mind. She knelt by the water, tracing the patterns of light reflecting on the surface. Tiny ripples danced as though in response to some invisible melody, a song carried from the past, faint, wistful, and slightly sorrowful. The air thickened, carrying with it whispers almost too soft to hear. They wove through the reeds and across the water, telling of those who had walked this land long before the town's first houses rose. Clara felt a shiver, not of fear, but of awe. Every shadow, every flicker of light seemed to hold a fragment of the creek's memory, waiting for someone willing to listen. From somewhere behind her, the faint sound of a bell tolled again, echoing across the fog. Clara turned, half expecting to see the woman vanish, but she remained, still, serene, like a reflection of the water itself. In that moment, Clara understood that Willow Creek was not just a place, but a living story, a tapestry of lives, joys, regrets, and secrets that stretched through time like the winding creek itself. She stayed there until the sun climbed higher, brushing the fog with soft gold light. Every step back to the inn was measured, as if she were leaving behind one world and returning to another. Yet the whispers lingered, a gentle hum beneath her skin, reminding her that the creek's stories were not finished. They would wait, patient and persistent, until she returned once more. And as she rested again in her room, the candlelight flickering softly, Clara allowed herself to drift into a state of calm awareness. Each breath became a thread weaving her into the rhythm of Willow Creek, a slow, gentle melody that promised both mystery and peace, a lullaby for those willing to follow the mist and listen to the quiet heartbeat of the town. The afternoon sun filtered weakly through the mist, casting Willow Creek in muted shades of gray and silver. Clara wandered through the narrow streets, her footsteps muffled by the soft, damp earth beneath her boots. The town was quiet, almost reverent, as if it knew she carried an unseen curiosity in her heart, a desire to witness what others had long chosen to ignore. Every window she passed reflected fragments of light, broken by the shapes of vines, creeping up the walls and moss, spreading like whispered memories over stone. She paused at the foot of the old cemetery, a small, forgotten plot tucked behind the mill. The wrought iron gate sagged on its hinges, and the headstones leaned at peculiar angles, their inscriptions softened by years of rain and wind. Clara traced her fingers along the carved names, feeling the history pressed into the stone, the weight of lives lived and lost. She could almost hear the laughter of children who had played among these markers, and the quiet sobs of mothers who had never forgotten beyond the gate. The creek meandered silently, reflecting the shifting clouds above. Clara crouched beside the water, watching as a single leaf drifted along the current. The movement was hypnotic, soothing, yet beneath it lay something persistent, a faint vibration, subtle but undeniable. She pressed her palm against the wet earth, feeling the rhythm of the land itself, as if the creek carried the memories of all those who had come before her. It was then that she noticed the first sign of the unusual, a shimmer in the mist, like heat rising from stone, forming into the vague outline of a figure. At first, she thought it was her imagination, a trick of light and shadow, but as the shimmer solidified, a woman's silhouette emerged, standing gracefully at the edge of the water. Her dress was pale, flowing with the current of air, and her hair seemed to merge with the fog, as if woven from the same silver strands. The woman did not move, yet her presence was tangible, like the warmth of the sun on a cold morning. Clara's breath slowed instinctively, her senses heightened, attuned to every whisper of the creek, every rustle of leaves, every subtle shift in the fog. She sensed that the woman was not just a part of the landscape, but a keeper of memories, a guardian of Willow Creek's secrets. The air around them seemed to vibrate with faint echoes, the clatter of hooves on the old bridge, the creak of mill wheels, the hushed conversations of townsfolk long gone. Each sound blended into a tapestry of past and present, sorrow and solace, truth and legend. Compelled by both curiosity and an unspoken trust, Clara stepped closer to the water. The figure did not retreat. Instead, she extended her hand, as though inviting Clara to witness the world hidden beneath the mist. Clara felt a shiver pass through her, not of fear, but of recognition, an understanding that Willow Creek's mysteries were alive, and they had chosen her to bear witness. She knelt by the edge of the creek, letting her fingers graze the surface. The water was cool, yet beneath it lay a pulse, a slow, steady rhythm that seemed to mirror her own heartbeat. The faint outlines of shapes swirled beneath the surface, fragments of faces, hands, and forms moving just beyond perception. Clara realized that the creek did not merely reflect the world above. It remembered the world that had been, the lives interrupted, the stories forgotten. A sudden breeze lifted the mist, revealing the old wooden bridge stretching across the creek, its arches bowed but dignified, holding the weight of years and memory alike. The faint sound of a bell tolled from a distant tower, echoing across the water and mingling with the whisper of the wind through the trees. Clara could feel the vibration in her chest, a gentle, haunting lullaby that spoke of patience, of sorrow, and of the quiet persistence of the past. The figure beside the creek remained, a silent guide through the layers of time. Clara knew that Willow Creek was not a town merely filled with stories. It was a living archive, a place where memory and mystery intertwined seamlessly. Each step she had taken, each sound she had heard, was a thread in a larger tapestry, one that she was only beginning to understand. As the light softened and shadows lengthened, Clara allowed herself to linger, breathing slowly, in tune with the rhythm of the creek and the pulse of the land. The world seemed to pause, embracing her presence, guiding her into a space where curiosity met serenity, where the gentle hum of Willow Creek invited her into a trance of reflection and quiet wonder. Before finally returning to the inn, she stood for a long moment, watching the creek swirl and shimmer in the twilight. The figure remained at the water's edge, a whisper of the past, a guardian of memories too delicate to disturb. Clara felt a deep calm settle within her, a coziest, most peaceful sensation, as if the town itself were embracing her. And as she walked back along the dampened path, the faint toll of the bell fading into distance, Clara carried with her the quiet assurance that the stories of Willow Creek were alive, patient, waiting, and ready to unfold for those willing to listen. Twilight descended slowly over Willow Creek, painting the town in muted shades of violet and silver. Clara walked along the edge of the creek, each step softened by damp leaves and the faint, persistent hum of the water. The town seemed suspended in a quiet reverie, the kind of stillness that carried both comfort and unease. Shadows stretched long across cobblestones and rooftops, shifting gently as if alive, bending and swaying in rhythm with the whispering wind. The old wooden bridge appeared ahead, familiar yet strange in the growing dusk. Its beams, darkened by time and weather, held stories etched into the grain tailies of lovers meeting in secret, children playing by the water, and townsfolk whose laughter and tears had become part of the very wood. Clara's hand brushed the railing, feeling the rough texture beneath her fingertips, and a shiver traveled down her spine. Not fear, but recognition. The sense that this bridge had watched more than anyone could remember, that it carried centuries of quiet memories, waiting to be heard. She wandered past the bridge, onto the small path that led through the woods, where fog began to settle thicker among the trees. Every step released the scent of wet earth and pine, a grounding, calming presence. In the hush, she could hear the soft crackle of fallen branches underfoot, and beyond that, the gentle lapping of the creek against its banks. Somewhere far ahead, the faint chime of the distant bell tolled again, each note echoing across the mist in soft waves. A sudden movement in the fog caught her eye. Subtle, fleeting, yet impossible to ignore. Clara's breath caught, her senses sharpening, and there, just beyond a thicket of silvered trees, appeared a figure, a man this time tall and silent, his form partially obscured by the swirling mist. He did not approach, nor did he speak, but his presence was commanding, serene, and slightly sorrowful. Clara felt drawn to him, an invisible thread connecting her curiosity to his stillness, a pull she could not resist. She stepped closer, noticing the shimmer of his eyes reflecting the dim light. The creek's surface responded as she did, rippling in delicate patterns that mirrored the flow of her heartbeat. With each careful step, she sensed layers of time folding upon themselves, the past interwoven with the present. The man seemed a guardian of these layers, a witness to tragedies, celebrations, secrets, and truths that the town had long buried beneath the fog and water. The path grew narrower, flanked by reeds and tangled roots, yet Clara felt no fear. Instead, there was a quiet assurance in each movement, a sense of being guided by the subtle music of the land. The crete whispered beneath the bridge, soft and mournful, carrying fragments of voices that had echoed through centuries. A child's laugh here, the soft lament of a lover there, a distant argument fading into memory. All of it woven into the invisible current flowing through Willow Creek. Clara knelt once more at the water's edge, letting her hands skim the surface. Shapes shifted beneath the ripples, ghostly silhouettes of people, fleeting and tender, their presence like a memory pressed against glass. She could sense their stories, the choices made and regrets left unspoken. The creek was not merely a body of water. It was a living archive, a slow, breathing repository of the town's heart and history. As darkness deepened, fireflies began to flicker through the mist, tiny lanterns hovering just above the reeds. Their soft glow illuminated the faint outline of the wooden bridge, highlighting the arches worn by age and weather. Clara's mind absorbed the tranquility and subtle tension in this magical, liminal space. The coziest, most peaceful awareness mingled with the soft thrill of mystery. Each breath she took seemed to sync with the rhythm of the creek, each exhale a quiet conversation with the town itself. The distant bell tolled once more, a final, lingering note that vibrated through the fog and settled in her chest. Clara rose, feeling both the weight and the beauty of the stories she had glimpsed. She understood that Willow Creek was patient. It waited for those willing to listen, willing to feel its memories without judgment. Every shadow, every ripple, every subtle sound was part of an enduring narrative, one that she had begun to understand and would carry forward. Before retracing her steps back to the inn, Clara lingered for a heartbeat longer, absorbing the gentle magic of twilight. The mist swirled around her, the fireflies danced in lazy arcs, and the creek flowed with quiet persistence, holding its secrets in calm serenity. She exhaled deeply, allowing herself to sink into the coziest, most peaceful state, a delicate balance of curiosity and relaxation, as if the night itself were cradling her. And as Clara walked back along the winding path, the bridge and the whispering creek behind her, she knew that Willow Creek had more stories to tell, more mysteries to reveal, patient, enduring, waiting for the ones who would listen with care and reverence. The night deepened over Willow Creek, drawing shadows long and soft across the cobblestone streets and the wooden beams of the old inn. Clara stepped quietly outside, feeling the cool air wrap around her like a gentle embrace. Each breath carried the scent of damp earth, fallen leaves, and the faint, lingering aroma of cedar from the inn. Her footsteps were muted, absorbed by the soft moss and scattered foliage, as though the town itself wished to keep her presence secret, just for this moment. The creek shimmered faintly under the pale moonlight, its surface reflecting the mist like a mirror fractured into 1,000 tiny fragments. Clara followed its winding path toward the far edge of town, where the shadows of ancient oaks reached across the water. Every sound was amplified in the hush. The gentle lapping of water, the rustle of leaves stirred by a passing breeze, the distant toll of a bell whose echo seemed to carry centuries of stories. She felt the town's heartbeat, subtle yet insistent, flowing in tandem with her own, guiding her steps with quiet insistence. Approaching the old cemetery once more, Clara noticed the faint glow of lantern light through the mist, flickering like a spirit's breath. The headstones leaned in silent rows, etched with names, worn smooth by time and weather. Each stone seemed to pulse with memory. Moments of joy, sorrow, regret, and hope pressed into the granite. Clara knelt beside one, brushing away the dew, and she felt the resonance of life lived long ago, as if the creek itself whispered the histories into her skin. Beyond the cemetery, the bridge loomed, its arches bowed yet dignified, holding the weight of countless stories. Clara stepped onto its worn planks, feeling the slight give beneath her feet. The air seemed to thicken here, charged with memories that clung to every beam. She imagined the townsfolk of centuries past, children racing across this bridge, lovers stealing secret glances, merchants and wanderers who had passed quietly. Unaware of the river of memory, they added to the creek. Each footstep on the bridge sent faint ripples across the water, echoing in subtle, hypnotic patterns that drew Clara further into the rhythm of the town. Then, in the curling mist beside the water, she saw it again. The figure she had glimpsed before, pale and ethereal, yet so vivid in form. Its presence was calm, almost protective, a gentle force connecting Clara to the hidden layers of Willow Creek. She felt the hum of the creek beneath her hands, a pulse that spoke of time folding over itself, of moments long past intertwining with those that still lived. The figure's eyes seemed to hold the sorrow of the town, the laughter and tears of generations, the weight of secrets carried silently through the fog. Clara knelt once more at the edge of the creek, allowing her fingers to skim the water. Shapes appeared and vanished beneath the surface, fleeting glimpses of figures whose lives had touched the town in ways both small and profound. A child's playful laugh, the quiet sigh of a lover, a merchant's hurried footsteps, each moment folded into the current, each echo a note in the creek's endless lullaby. The water seemed alive, a living archive of memory and emotion, moving slowly yet with deliberate grace, urging Clara to witness, to remember, and to feel. As the night deepened, fireflies began to hover over the reeds, their soft light casting gentle, dancing shadows. Clara watched them, mesmerized, their glow illuminating the arches of the bridge and the swirling mist around her. Each flicker seemed like a heartbeat, a reminder that life and memory persisted even in silence. She breathed slowly, letting the rhythm of the creek, the hum of the wind, and the faint tolling of the distant bell guide her into a deep, meditative calm. Time seemed to stretch, each moment lingering, delicate yet eternal. Clara realized that Willow Creek was more than a town. It was a living story, a repository of memory and magic intertwined. Every shadow, every ripple, every whisper was a thread in its tapestry, a story waiting for a listener patient enough to perceive it. She felt a deep sense of peace, as though the town itself were offering comfort, a gentle embrace that eased the tension in her mind and body. Before retracing her steps to the inn, Clara paused on the bridge, letting her gaze drift over the water and the mist-draped trees beyond. The figure by the creek remained serene and luminous, a reminder that some mysteries were meant to linger, that memory and magic could coexist in quiet harmony. Clara exhaled slowly, letting the weight of the night settle gently around her. The creek whispered its secret softly, guiding her into the coziest, most peaceful awareness, where curiosity and calm danced together in delicate balance. And as she walked back along the path to the inn, the faint toll of the bell fading behind her, Clara understood that Willow Creek's stories were alive, patient, and waiting, ready to reveal themselves to those willing to listen with care and reverence. Night had fully settled over Willow Creek, and the town was wrapped in a gentle, silvery calm. Clara walked slowly along the creek's edge, the fog curling around her like a soft blanket, cushioning each step. The water mirrored the faint glow of lanterns from the distant bridge, reflecting the silhouettes of ancient trees swaying lightly in the wind. Every sound, the rustle of leaves, the whisper of the creek, the distant toll of the bell, seemed amplified in the stillness, each note a quiet invitation to linger, to listen, and to feel the heartbeat of the town. Clara paused by the old wooden bridge, tracing the worn planks with her fingers. She remembered all the stories she had glimpsed, the children racing through the streets, the laughter of lovers beneath the arches, the echoes of voices long gone. Willow Creek held them all, patiently, as though each memory had its place in a vast tapestry of time. A shiver ran through her, not of fear, but of awe, a delicate thrill that reminded her how alive the town truly was beneath its quiet exterior. The fog thickened slightly, and from its depths emerged the familiar figure she had seen before, pale, luminous, serene. The figure stood motionless at the water's edge, yet Clara felt an unmistakable presence, a gentle guardianship that enveloped the entire creek. She approached slowly, each step measured, aware that this being was a bridge between the present and the past, a keeper of stories too delicate to disturb, yet yearning to be witnessed. The creek's surface shifted beneath her touch, revealing fleeting images, a child's joyful laughter frozen in time, a couple's whispered promises, a solitary figure walking the misty streets long ago. Clara watched in quiet reverence, her breathing slow and even, letting the patterns of the water, the fog, and the distant bell weave together into a soothing lullaby. The town was alive in memory, magic, and the gentle pulse of unseen energy, and she felt honored to be part of its rhythm, even for this single night. Above, fireflies drifted through the mist, their soft glow reflecting on the water like scattered stars. The pale moonlight added a silver gleam to the arches of the bridge, the reeds, and the distant rooftops. Clara closed her eyes for a moment, inhaling deeply, letting the coziest, most peaceful sensation fill her, the sense of being wrapped in the arms of the town itself, a place where mysteries and memories coexist with tranquility and gentle wonder. Time seemed to stretch and bend, folding past and present into a single continuous thread. Clara felt the weight of all the untold stories and forgotten memories. Yet there was no heaviness, only a soft, enduring beauty. She understood that Willow Creek did not hurry. It waited for those willing to observe, to feel, to honor the lives and events that had shaped it. Each ripple, each whisper, each flicker of shadow was deliberate, part of an intricate, timeless harmony. Before leaving the bridge, Clara knelt once more at the water's edge. The figure beside the creek remained a quiet witness, radiating patience and serenity. She traced her fingers across the surface, sensing a pulse, a rhythm, not merely of water, but of life, memory, and magic interwoven. Her mind drifted, carried by the gentle current, as if the creek itself were whispering lullabies meant for those who dare to listen. Rising, Clara took one last look at the mist-wrapped town, the silent buildings, the bridge, and the creek. The stories of Willow Creek lingered in her senses, tender and persistent, each one a soft echo of the past. She turned toward the inn, footsteps light, carrying with her the serene understanding that this place, this quiet, magical town, held more than she could ever fully grasp, yet that was part of its charm. And as the night deepened further, the fog wrapping Willow Creek in a gentle embrace, Clara allowed herself to feel complete calm, her mind attuned to the coziest, most peaceful rhythm. The whispers, the water, the distant bell, all invited her to rest, to drift, to let go. And in that moment, the town's magic settled over her like a lullaby. If you have enjoyed wandering through Willow Creek with Clara tonight, don't forget to subscribe to Midnight Murmurs Radio, leave a comment, and share the calm and wonder with others who seek a cozy, peaceful escape. Your support helps keep these stories alive, night after night, allowing the whispers of Willow Creek to reach every listener, guiding them gently into a restful, deep sleep. Dawn barely touched Willow Creek, and yet the town seemed already steeped in history, as if the mist itself carried memories from centuries past. Clara stepped outside the inn, the cool morning air brushing her cheeks, mingling with a faint scent of wet leaves and moss. The streets were quiet, empty, yet alive in a subtle, almost imperceptible way. She felt the pulse of the town beneath her feet, a rhythm that connected past and present, life and memory. She followed the winding path along the creek, the water shimmering faintly in the early light. The mist clung to the surface, curling like delicate smoke, hiding and revealing the world beneath in equal measure. Clara paused, letting her eyes trace the patterns in the water ripples shaped by hidden currents, shadows of branches brushing against the surface, and reflections of rooftops and the wooden bridge that had guided her steps last night. Every movement was hypnotic, drawing her deeper into the town's quiet magic. The bridge stood still, silent, yet it seemed to pulse with energy from the stories it had carried for generations. Clara's fingers brushed the worn planks as she stepped onto it, feeling the texture of time itself pressed into the wood. She could almost hear the laughter of children who had crossed it centuries ago, the whispered promises of lovers meeting in secrecy, the hurried steps of merchants and wanderers who had passed in the early hours, unaware that their lives were being gently recorded by the town itself. A faint rustle in the reeds caught her attention. Clara leaned closer to the water, and there, barely visible through the curling mist, a figure appeared. Pale and ethereal, the form seemed almost to float above the creek's surface, its presence commanding yet calm. She could feel its gaze, not piercing but inviting, guiding her to notice the layers of memory hidden within the fog. The creek responded to her attention, subtle ripples forming, as though recognizing her as a witness, someone meant to walk these paths and bear witness to what had been long forgotten. Clara flowed, the figure spath along the water, her senses attuned to every sound. The soft lap of the creek against the banks, the distant call of a bird, the rustle of leaves in the early breeze, all wove together into a gentle, immersive symphony. Somewhere far away, the bell tolled once, carrying a hollow, resonant note that spoke of centuries, of lives lived and lost, of joys and sorrows echoing through time. Clara's heartbeat slowed, matching the rhythm of the town, her breath sinking with the water, her mind opening to the layers of stories around her. The figure paused near an old stone wall, partially hidden by ivy and moss. Clara stepped closer, noticing carvings faintly etched into the surface, initials, dates, symbols, and names, long worn by rain and time. Each mark told a story, fragments of lives that had intersected with Willow Creek, pieces of joy, grief, and mystery preserved in silence. She felt the weight of history pressing softly against her senses, a gentle but undeniable presence urging her to honor it, to allow the memories to settle around her and guide her understanding of the town. She knelt beside the wall, brushing away the damp moss, feeling a connection not only to the past, but also to the subtle magic that seemed to pulse beneath the surface of the creek, through the cobblestones, and into the air itself. Clara realized that Willow Creek was not merely a place. It was a living narrative, a repository of emotion, events, and choices that had shaped generations. The mist, the water, the fog, and the faint bell were all threads in an intricate tapestry, one that she was only beginning to perceive. Rising, Clara walked slowly along the creek, the ethereal figure maintaining a respectful distance, its presence like a gentle guide rather than a companion. The morning sun began to pierce the mist in thin, silver rays, illuminating the surface of the water and the arches of the bridge with a delicate glow. Every detail, every sound, every shadow seemed imbued with significance, carrying whispers of secrets, echoes of laughter, traces of sorrow, and the delicate promise of discovery. Clara felt herself relaxing into the rhythm of the town, each breath and step a gentle meditation. Willow Creek stories did not demand her understanding, only her presence, her attention, and her respect. As she paused once more by the water, letting her fingers skim the cool surface, she felt a sense of calm descend, a cozy, most peaceful awareness settling into her mind and body, blending curiosity with serenity, mystery with gentle comfort. And as Clara continued along the path, following the winding creek deeper into the mist, she carried the understanding that Willow Creek was patient. It waited for those willing to listen, to feel, to observe, and to honor the layers of memory and magic woven into its quiet streets and waterways. Every step, every ripple, every faint echo was part of a living lullaby, guiding her toward discovery, wonder, and deep, peaceful reflection. The fog thickened over Willow Creek as the morning progressed, wrapping the town in a soft, silvery veil. Clara walked along the narrow streets, the cobblestones slick beneath her feet, each step muted by fallen leaves and the damp moss that crept along the edges. The air was cool, scented with wet wood, earth, and the faint aroma of cedar smoke from chimneys long forgotten. The town was quiet, yet it pulsed with hidden life, each shadow and ripple in the creek carrying whispers of stories untold, secrets folded into the very fabric of Willow Creek. Clara approached the old mill once again, its weathered beams glistening faintly under the diffused light. The structure seemed almost alive, breathing in rhythm with the creek flowing nearby. She traced her fingers along the rough wood, feeling the subtle vibrations of history beneath her touch. The mill had witnessed countless days and nights, the laughter of workers, the soft murmur of water over the wheel, and the occasional murky tales of misfortune and longing that had seeped into its walls. Clara inhaled slowly, letting the rhythm of the mill and the creek settle her mind, drawing her deeper into the coziest, most serene awareness. From the corner of her eye, she noticed movement in the mist. A figure emerged slowly, delicate yet commanding, gliding above the water's edge. It was a woman, pale and luminous, her dress flowing like silvered water, merging seamlessly with the fog around her. Clara paused, heart steady, entranced by the quiet majesty of the figure. This presence was not threatening. It was an invitation, an offer to witness the secrets hidden within the town, a gentle guide through layers of memory and magic. Clara followed the figure along a narrow, overgrown path, leading deeper into the woods behind the mill. The ground was soft, releasing the faint scent of pine and damp soil with each step. The mist swirled around her, thickening as she moved, creating a world removed from time itself. Every sound, the ripple of the creek, the rustle of leaves, the occasional distant bird call, seemed amplified and infused with meaning. It was a gentle symphony, calming yet tinged with the subtle thrill of anticipation, a lullaby for both mind and heart. Along the path, Clara discovered a small stone circle, moss-covered and half-hidden by vines. She knelt to examine the intricate carvings, noting symbols and initials etched into the surface by hands long gone. Each mark seemed alive, vibrating faintly, as if responding to her presence. Clara could sense the echoes of those who had come before. Their hopes, regrets, celebrations, and sorrows captured in delicate balance within the circle. The creek's soft murmur complemented the energy of the stones, creating a rhythmic pulse that resonated deep within her chest. The woman beside her remained still, an ethereal observer, a guardian of the space between worlds. Clara felt a connection, fragile yet profound, as if the town itself had chosen this moment to reveal a layer of its hidden essence. The mist shifted subtly, and she glimpsed shapes beneath the surface of the creek, figures moving in slow, deliberate motions, fragments of lives pressed into memory, shadows of laughter, whispers of sorrow, glimmers of love. Unspoken, she realized that Willow Creek's beauty was inseparable from its mysteries, the tranquility entwined with the echoes of past lives. Clara rose and walked further along the creek, the woman's presence, a steady, calming force beside her. The fog continued to curl, weaving through the reeds and the branches of the ancient oaks lining the banks. Clara's senses were attuned to the smallest details, The cool brush of air against her skin, the texture of bark beneath her fingertips, the gentle pull of the creek as it flowed past her. Every element was imbued with history and magic, forming a symphony of subtle sounds and sensations that lulled her into a state of deep, meditative calm. Above her, the faint glimmer of sunlight began to pierce the fog in thin, silver beams. The light illuminated the arches of the bridge and the undulating ripples of the creek, casting reflections that danced like fireflies across the water. Clara closed her eyes briefly, letting herself absorb the coziest, most peaceful sensations, feeling each breath align with the rhythm of the town, the creek, and the whispering mist. Willow Creek was patient, and so was she, moving slowly through its layers of memory and magic, attuned to every quiet heartbeat of the land. As she returned toward the inn, Clara allowed her gaze to wander over the fog-draped streets, the mill, the bridge, and the ever-shimmering creek. She understood that this was only the beginning, that the town held stories she would continue to uncover, each layer offering a delicate blend of serenity, wonder, and quiet tension. The whispers of Willow Creek had become a lullaby, guiding her gently, reassuringly, into the depths of awareness and calm reflection, where curiosity and peace coexisted in perfect harmony. The afternoon sun barely pierced the dense fog that lingered over Willow Creek, casting the town in muted shades of silver and gray. Clara walked slowly along the cobblestone path by the creek, her boots pressing softly into the moss-dampened ground. The air was cool, carrying the faint scent of wet leaves, pine, and cedar smoke from fireplaces tucked behind shuttered windows. Every footstep seemed to awaken subtle echoes of the past, a child's laughter, a horse's hooves on the old bridge, whispered conversations long faded into memory. She felt the pulse of the town beneath her, steady and guiding her through the layers of time and space that intertwined in Willow Creek. The old mill appeared ahead, its silhouette dark against the mist. Clara approached slowly, brushing her hand along the rough wood of its walls, feeling the faint vibration of decades pressed into every beam. The water wheels, still and silent, seemed to carry the stories of those who had worked here long ago, the rhythm of labor, the occasional laughter of children chasing one another through the courtyard, the quiet tears of lovers saying goodbye. She breathed deeply, letting the creek and the mill's history settle into her senses, a most calming awareness washing over her. As she followed the creek past the mill, Clara noticed a faint shimmer in the mist, emerging gradually. A figure materialized, ethereal and luminous, yet perfectly distinct, as if woven from the very fog itself. This time, the figure was a man, tall and silent, with eyes that seemed to hold centuries of knowledge and sorrow. He did not move, yet Clara could feel his presence, an invisible thread connecting her to the deeper, hidden rhythms of Willow Creek. The creek's surface responded subtly, ripples forming in delicate patterns that mirrored the quiet ebb and flow of her heartbeat, drawn by curiosity. Clara moved closer to the water's edge, allowing her fingers to graze the surface. Shapes shifted beneath the ripples, shadowed forms of people, fleeting and tender, traces of lives intertwined with the town. A couple's whispered promises, the joyful cry of a child, the soft lament of someone lost, each moment folded into the water's rhythm, creating a slow, immersive melody. The creek was not just a body of water. It was a repository of memory and emotion, an archive of lives long past yet preserved in subtle, persistent resonance beyond the creek. Clara noticed a small, secluded garden, partially overgrown yet still alive with hints of past beauty. She walked among the ivy-covered stones and arches, noticing carvings and initials etched into the walls, symbols of love, remembrance, and fleeting moments preserved in silence. The mist wove around the foliage, softening edges and creating a dreamlike atmosphere. Clara knelt briefly to brush away the dew and moss, feeling a connection to the delicate stories embedded in the garden, a sense of continuity across generations and lives intertwined with the town's heartbeat. The figure by the creek remained silent yet present, a guardian of these memories. Clara could feel the subtle energy that radiated outward, weaving through the fog, the creek, and the streets of Willow Creek. She understood that the town was patient. It waited for those willing to perceive its layers, willing to let themselves be immersed in its stories. The bell in the distance tolled faintly, a slow, measured rhythm that echoed across the water and into her chest, a gentle reminder of time's passage, both relentless and eternal. Clara continued along the path, stepping carefully over roots and soft earth, attuned to every movement of the fog and every whisper of the creek. Fireflies began to emerge, hovering above the water and reach, their tiny lights reflecting like stars scattered across the ripples. The scene was at once magical and calming, the delicate balance of mystery and serenity wrapping around her like a warm blanket. She exhaled slowly, her mind sinking deeper into the rhythm of Willow Creek, each breath matching the pulse of the water, the wind, and the town itself. As she approached a bend in the creek, Clara saw the faint outline of a small wooden dock, aged but sturdy. She stepped onto it, letting her gaze wander across the mist-shrouded water. Every detail, the gentle ripple of the creek, the sway of reeds, the arches of the distant bridge, the subtle flicker of firefly light combined into a tapestry of memory, magic, and calm. Clara felt a deep sense of connection, a coziest, most peaceful awareness of being part of the town's living story. Before leaving the dock, she knelt once more, skimming her fingers across the cool, smooth surface of the water. Shapes and shadows danced beneath her touch, fragments of lives long past, folding seamlessly with the present. The bell tolled again, faint and resonant, guiding her back along the path to the inn. Every step, every sound, every shadow whispered of Willow Creek's enduring patience, its quiet magic, and its gentle invitation to those willing to listen, to watch, and to feel. The fog lingered over Willow Creek like a soft, silver veil, blurring the edges of the town and lending a dreamlike quality to every building, tree, and winding street. Clara walked slowly along the creek, feeling the cool moisture settle on her skin and the faint scent of wet earth and pine fill her senses. Each step seemed to awaken echoes of the past, children laughing as they chased each other through the streets, the clatter of horses' hooves on the bridge, and the quiet conversations of lovers meeting under shadowed eaves. The town was alive with memory, and Clara could sense it pulsing beneath her feet, steady and deliberate, inviting her to move gently, to observe, Antholistan, she paused at the old wooden bridge, her fingers tracing the worn planks, feeling the faint vibrations of generations pressed into the wood. The arches, darkened by age, held stories of countless encounters, joyful reunions, whispered promises, hurried goodbyes, and solitary footsteps fading into silence. Clara closed her eyes, letting the rhythm of the creek below, the faint toll of a distant bell, and the whispers of the fog merge into a coziest, most calming melody. Every sense became heightened, attuned to the subtle currents of Willow Creek's history and magic, each breath synchronizing with the pulse of the town. From the corner of her vision, a figure emerged through the mist, tall, ethereal, and luminous. This presence was serene, almost regal, and yet tender in its quiet watchfulness. Clara's heartbeat slowed instinctively, attuned to the figure's energy. She felt drawn, not by fear, but by curiosity and reverence, sensing that this being was a guardian of the town's hidden memories, a living link between past and present. The creek's surface responded with gentle ripples, shimmering in delicate patterns that mirrored the flow of her thoughts and the slow unfolding of the town's secrets. Clara followed the figure along a narrow, winding path that led through an overgrown garden beside the creek. The garden was partially hidden, its stone walls blanketed in ivy and moss, and yet hints of careful design remained: arches, carved stone benches, and delicate engravings on the stones beneath her fingers. Each symbol, initial, and faint inscription told stories of love, remembrance, sorrow, and hope. Preserved silently over the decades, she knelt briefly, brushing away moss and dew, feeling the vibration of these memories mingle with the soft pulse of the creek. The coziest, most peaceful awareness washed over her, as though the town itself were embracing her presence. The figure beside her remained still, a silent guide through the layers of time, radiating calm and patience. Clara could sense the subtle currents of magic and memory weaving through the mist. The creek and the streets, Willow Creek, did not rush. It waited for those willing to perceive its rhythm, to honor its stories, to listen without judgment. Every sound, the rustle of leaves, the ripple of water, the distant tolling of the bell was part of an intricate, gentle symphony that guided her mind and spirit into a meditative, almost hypnotic state. As she continued along the creek, Clara noticed a small wooden dock, aged and weathered yet sturdy, jutting into the water. She stepped onto it, letting her gaze drift across the fog-shrouded landscape. The water mirrored the arches of the bridge, the mist curling through the reeds, and the flickering glow of distant lanterns, forming a tapestry of delicate light and shadow. Fireflies began to drift lazily across the scene, their tiny lights casting fleeting reflections that danced across the surface. Clara inhaled deeply, allowing the coziest, most peaceful sensations to permeate her being, synchronizing her breath with the rhythm of the town and the creek. Beneath her fingertips, the water shifted subtly, shapes appearing and vanishing, faint silhouettes of figures, fragments of life pressed into memory. Clara sensed the joy, the sorrow, and the quiet resilience of Willow Creek's inhabitants. Each story a thread in the living tapestry of the town. The bell tolled once more, echoing faintly across the water, guiding her thoughts and grounding her presence in the delicate balance of mystery and serenity. She understood that the town's magic was patient, unfolding gently, offering glimpses of its secrets to those willing to walk its streets and pause by its waters with attentive hearts. Before returning to the inn, Clara lingered a moment longer on the dock, breathing slowly, allowing the layers of history, memory, and magic to settle around her. Willow Creek's whispers had become a lullaby, each ripple and shadow a soft note in a coziest, most calming symphony. As she turned toward the path leading back, she felt a sense of gratitude and quiet wonder, knowing that the town's stories were alive, waiting patiently, and ready to be discovered by those willing to see, to feel, and to listen. The mist lingered over Willow Creek, like a gentle shroud, softening the edges of the town and making every sound seem distant, muffled, and mysterious. Clara walked along the cobblestone path by the creek, her steps absorbed by the damp moss and fallen leaves. The air was cool and fragrant with pine, earth, and the lingering aroma of cedar smoke. Each breath she took carried a sense of calm, grounding her as she moved deeper into the quiet rhythm of the town. Every footstep seemed to awaken faint echoes of the past, the laughter of children chasing one another across the streets, whispered conversations of lovers beneath shadowed eaves, and the soft murmur of footsteps long gone. The town was alive in memory, and Clara felt herself moving in harmony with its pulse, attuned to the subtle rhythms of Willow Creek. The creek shimmered faintly under the diffuse light, its surface reflecting the mist and the distant arches of the old wooden bridge. Clara knelt by the water, brushing her fingers along the cool surface. Shapes shifted beneath her touch, fleeting silhouettes of people long gone, traces of lives intertwined with the town. A child's laugh echoed softly, a whisper of a promise long forgotten, the gentle sigh of someone lost. Each image and sound was a delicate thread in the tapestry of Willow Creek, weaving together moments of joy, sorrow, love, and regret into a quiet, meditative pattern. Clara inhaled slowly, letting the coziest, most peaceful sensations settle within her, synchronizing her breath with the gentle rhythm of the creek. From the corner of her vision, the familiar ethereal figure appeared again, hovering near the water's edge. Pale, luminous, and serene, the presence radiated calm, a soft guide through the layers of memory embedded in the town. Clara rose slowly, following its subtle motion along the creek's winding path. The figure led her toward a small grove, partially hidden by fog and thick clusters of oaks. The ground beneath her feet was soft, releasing faint, earthy scents as she walked. The air seemed to hum quietly, a gentle resonance that invited Clara to pause, breathe, and fully inhabit the moment. Within the grove, she discovered a small stone arch, mosquito-verde and etched with intricate carvings. Each mark, initials, symbols, dates, seemed alive, vibrating faintly with the energy of those who had left them behind. Clara knelt, brushing away moss and dew, feeling the subtle pulse of history in her fingertips. The creek's faint murmur complemented the energy of the stones, creating a rhythm that resonated deep within her chest. She sensed the joys, regrets, and secrets embedded in the town's architecture, the bridge, the water, and the paths, understanding that Willow Creek's magic was patient, deliberate, and gentle, revealing itself only to those willing to observe and listen. The figure remained beside her, silent yet present, guiding Clara through the delicate layers of memory and history. She could feel the town's stories unfolding like a soft, living melody, each ripple of the creek, each flicker of light on the water, each distant toll of the bell contributing to a coziest, most meditative symphony. Clara breathed slowly, absorbing the subtle interplay of light, shadow, mist, and reflection, allowing her mind and body to relax into the rhythm of Willow Creek. Every detail, from the texture of bark to the shimmer of water, contributed to a gentle, immersive experience, balancing the thrill of mystery with serene comfort. Continuing along the creek, Clara's gaze wandered across the fog-dripped landscape. Fireflies began to hover above the reeds, their tiny lights flickering like stars caught in a gentle current. The bridge, the arches, the ripples of the creek, and the mist all blended into a living tableau of memory and magic. Clara felt a profound sense of presence and connection, a realization that Willow Creek's stories were endless, layered, patient, and inviting. The town whispered its secrets quietly, revealing only what could be held gently in the mind and heart, offering peace alongside curiosity and serenity alongside wonder. Before leaving the grove, Clara knelt once more at the water's edge. Shapes shifted beneath her fingers, fragments of lives long past, and she understood the town's enduring patience, its gentle invitation to witness, to feel, and to reflect. She exhaled slowly, letting herself sink fully into the coziest, most peaceful awareness. Willow Creek's magic settled around her like a lullaby, guiding her gently as she prepared to continue her exploration, fully immersed in the delicate balance of mystery, serenity, and timeless memory. The evening settled over Willow Creek like a soft, silver blanket, folding the town into gentle shadows and mist. Clara walked along the creek's edge, her boots pressing softly into the moss-covered ground. The air was cool, fragrant with pine, wet earth, and the faint lingering aroma of cedar from distant chimneys. Each breath carried the coziest, most calming sensation, grounding her in the quiet rhythm of the town. Every step seemed to awaken delicate echoes of the past. Laughter of children chasing one another through the streets, whispered promises between lovers, hurried footsteps fading into silence. Willow Creek's history pulsed softly beneath her, a steady, patient heartbeat guiding her through layers of memory and magic. She approached the old wooden bridge, tracing her fingers along the worn planks. The arches, darkened by time, seemed to hold the weight of countless stories, joyous reunions, gentle farewells, moments of sorrow, and quiet acts of courage hidden from view. Clara closed her eyes for a moment, allowing the soft rhythm of the creek, the faint toll of a distant bell, and the whispers of the mist to merge into a coziest, most meditative melody. Every sense became heightened, attuned to the subtle currents of history and magic, intertwined within the town. From the mist emerged the familiar ethereal figures she had seen over the past days, luminous, serene, guardians of memory and history. They moved slowly along the water's edge, their presence calm yet commanding, a reminder that Willow Creek's mysteries were alive, persistent, and patient. Clara followed them silently, feeling her heartbeat align with the rhythm of the creek. her breathing merging with the subtle pulse of the town. She understood that this was not merely a walk through streets and bridges, but a journey through layers of stories, each filled of time carrying echoes of life, love, sorrow, and hope. The creek shimmered under the fading light, its surface reflecting the mist, trees, and arches of the bridge with delicate precision. Clara knelt by the water, letting her fingers skim across the cool surface. Shapes and shadows danced beneath her touch, fleeting silhouettes of figures who had touched Willow Creek in subtle, meaningful ways. A child's laughter, a quiet sigh, a whispered secret. Each fragment was woven into the creek's rhythm, forming a living tapestry of memory and emotion. Clara felt her mind relax, each ripple guiding her deeper into the coziest, most peaceful awareness, a gentle meditation on the town's enduring presence. Beyond the bridge, Clara noticed the small stone arch nestled in the reeds, moss-covered yet dignified. She approached, brushing away dew and moss, and traced the faint carvings etched by generations past. Each symbol, initial, and date seemed to vibrate faintly with the energy of those who had left them behind, their joys, regrets, and quiet triumphs lingering in subtle resonance. The ethereal figures remained nearby, silent guides, radiating patience and calm, a gentle affirmation of the town's enduring magic. Clara felt connected to the stories, to the town, and to the delicate balance between serenity and the faint thrill of mystery. As she continued along the creek, the fog shifted, curling gracefully around trees, stones, and the arches of the bridge. Fireflies drifted lazily over the water, their tiny lights flickering like scattered stars. Clara's gaze followed the reflections, dancing across the ripples, her breathing slow, each inhale and exhale synchronized with the pulse of Willow Creek. The faint tolling of the distant bell echoed softly through the air, a gentle reminder that time in this town was patient, its stories unfolding deliberately for those willing to observe, to listen, and to feel. Before leaving the creek, Clara knelt one last time by the water, letting her fingers trace patterns across the surface. Shapes shifted beneath her touch, shadows of the past blending seamlessly with the present, whispers of lives interwoven with hers and with the town itself. She exhaled slowly, allowing the coziest, most peaceful awareness to settle into her mind and body. Willow Creek's stories had unfolded gently, each layer of memory, magic, and emotion forming a delicate lullaby, guiding her into deep reflection, serenity, and wonder. And as Clara walked back toward the inn, the fog wrapping the town in its soft embrace, she understood the quiet truth of Willow Creek. Its mysteries are patient, its magic enduring, and its stories eternal. She carried the coziest, most peaceful awareness with her, letting the gentle whispers of the creek, the arches of the bridge, the distant tolling bell, and the ethereal figures guide her slowly toward rest, reflection, and the calmest, deepest sleep.